We are up and running, more or less. All right, the stream is active on YouTube and will be up and running soon on Amazon, which we'll do right now. All right, we are up and running. So it's Saturday, but that doesn't mean much anymore. And I thought what I would do today is check out this thing that I got in a while ago. This came in free of charge from the company, in full disclosure, from a company called Brook. And this is the Power Bay. And what this does is it allows you to connect up your Gamecube controller, like I've got here. This is like a legit Gamecube controller that I guess they reissued them a couple of years ago, Nintendo, and I bought one. So I've had this, and I haven't really used it at all. I just bought it because it was available at the time. I had thought maybe I'd play some more Gamecube games on my Wii or something, but it's like brand new. It's out of the box, but it's like super, super new. So these folks reached out to me a while ago, and they were crowdfunding this initially. And I'm not a big fan of promoting crowdfunding products because I've been like completely, whatted a number of times with them. So I figured I would wait until it shows up as a real product on Amazon that people can buy. And what this is a dock for your Switch. And again, it uses the Gamecube things. And there's two variations of it. So this is the more expensive version. And this one allows you to also connect up Bluetooth headphones and get wireless headphone functionality. And then there's another one that does the Gamecube connection without the Bluetooth headphone functionality. So this one's like 65 bucks, and the other one is $52. So that is the difference there between them. And I've got some folks shuffling in, as they say. So I want to say hello to some people, and then we'll get into this and see what it's all about. I've been like run down the last couple of days. I don't think I'm sick. I'm just like tired. Could just be the winter. We had a big snowstorm. And so my kids want to go play in the snow, and Dad's tired, So I'm just going to put up some folks here who are saying hello. Everybody's popping in. Yeah, this will be kind of a low-key stream. But you know what? Let's see what this thing's all about, and we'll connect it up to my Switch here. My Switch has been heavily used. I really like the Switch. I play with the Switch more than anything else that I've bought game-wise in a long time, partly because it's so convenient, So let's pop this thing open and see what's inside. I don't think it comes with a power adapter. And in case you're just tuning in, this is a dock for the Nintendo Switch. And it looks like a Gamecube because it connects to the Gamecube controller. And on first blush here, the build quality feels pretty nice on this. And this, by the way, is a dock that will connect to displays. And you'll note it doesn't come with a power adapter, so you're going to need to get that in order for this to work. And I have one here. So I would recommend, if you can swing it, you never go wrong buying the actual Nintendo power adapter because you know that's going to work. So that's what I would go with. So we got some more folks to say hello to here. We've got Tristan, hello, good morning, or good afternoon, or whatever time it is. It's 1:30 already, wow. Cebu watched my interview with Bob, and I have an interview with Bob also, a completely different interview with him that we're going to have up on Monday, so check it out. And let me know how I did. Hopefully it was a good interview. We kind of talked a lot, the two of us. I like talking to Bob. Tristan says the Switch is amazing, it sure is. And Jason Jones is here. And Andy says, yeah, mini Gamecube. Yeah, so this is what you do with it. I'll show you the overview here. I'm just trying to see if this is something that's worth reviewing as a video. I got this in a while ago. And like I said, they were initially doing this as a crowdfunded thing, and I just don't like covering crowdfunded devices until they're available. So, oh, this is interesting. Okay, so there's two buttons here on the front, and there is a function button. So let's see what that function button does. I've got like a little thing here with just safety information. So let's see what it's got here. So it apparently supports a turbo function, right here, and I'm assuming that's going to apply to the Gamecube controllers that are attached. And then what you do is you put this in like that, and then you've got your little dock, and then you can plug the Gamecube controller into that. So we're going to try all this out here in a second and see how it all works. So I guess what we'll do is maybe start with the simplest component, which is just getting the, I bet you that function button is to pair up a Bluetooth headphone. That's what I bet that's for. So let's start with the simplest thing here and just connect the Gamecube controller. Now these, I guess they don't make, or you can get USB Gamecube controllers, and if you can find one that works with a switch, then you don't need this thing. But if you've got the old controllers and you really like these, then get one of these docks and hook it up. So we'll see what we get there. Thomas Anfang is asking a question. Let me put his question up here. By the way, if you're on Amazon, leave a chat and we'll take a look. Favorite games to play with the family. So my kids and I have been engrossed, as you'll see in a minute here, with Animal Crossing. We love Animal Crossing. All right, so it didn't detect the, oops. Yeah, it worked out right away. We're already in. How about that? So let's try this out real quick here and see how it all works. So let me kill the lower third. Yeah, we like Animal Crossing a lot. We've been playing a lot of that. There's so many good games. My daughter and I really liked Luigi's Mansion. And what's cool is that it's a two-player cooperative game. And it's not that frustrating for the second player. So the stakes are not that high. So that's a fun one. So we like that one quite a bit. And we'll see what we've got here. Om1/ says this looks awesome. Yeah, this thing is actually better constructed than I expected it to be. And I think the controller is connecting via USB back to the Switch. So we'll have to see if the USB controller is slowing down anything, although I don't think it would. There's probably a USB hub in here because there are 2 additional USB ports on here. It feels a little bit laggy, maybe. It's hard to say. And of course, you get this to play whatchamacallit. I was trying to see how the buttons map out. Yeah, so like something like this may not work as well, right? Well, I guess maybe it does. You have to relearn the controls. Like you don't buy this for this game. But I figured I'd show you my island here. So we have a little orchard that we planted. This is with the kids. Actually, I did some of this work. So I have an orchard of all the different fruits from all the different islands you can visit. So we did a lot of traveling, multiplayer traveling. And then I built out my village as like a little downtown. So all the residents, I have some zoning in effect here. So we've got all the houses next to each other with some nice landscaping. We're going to try to get one of the residents kicked out. There's one that we don't like. And then we have the commercial district here where we've got the shops, the 2 shops. I love Mac. He's one of my favorites. Another house here and then the museum. My daughter kind of put some of this stuff in here. We have to do a little bit of work on that. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Some questions though, does it have HDMI? Yes, it does have HDMI, so I figured we'll get to that next. What I wanted to do first was test the lag on the controller, because that's going to be one of the big questions I think people might have. So we're just going to go into, and I have a relatively unscientific way of doing it that I found though is a good way to kind of flesh out problems. Okay, so we're going to go over to the test input devices screen here. And what I do is I grab my phone and I shoot the screen at 240 frames per second. And it gives us a good idea, roughly, not like super scientific. My friend Bob from Retro RGB does the scientific stuff. But what I'm going to do here is shoot me pushing the button and see how fast it takes for that button push to register on screen. We can actually count out the frames when it does this. So let's get a better shot here. One problem with this new iPhone is that it's got a great bokeh. It'll work. Okay, here we go. Because it's funny, you'll do one of these tests here and see how fast it appears. But then when you actually drop it into something, it's totally different. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to wait a second. I'm going to boot up my video capture device here. And we're going to bring in the video that I just shot. And we're going to step through it frame by frame to see what kind of lag that this introduces. and then we'll kind of take it from there. Andy G wants to know what the price is on it. So there's two versions. This one is $65 because it has a Bluetooth radio built in for headphones. So you can output your audio with it over Bluetooth. And so this one will cost a little bit more, but it's only like a $10 price premium, and it doesn't come with a power adapter. So you need to provide that. So just be aware of that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in my Mac here real quick, and we're going to take a look and see what the lag is looking like. And by the way, when we're talking about power adapters, I always recommend, if you can get one, get the Nintendo adapter, especially if you have one of the older switches. So mine is, my switch is like a first generation switch. And so some of these docks have had problems. So that's definitely something to take a look at. And if you want to know where to find it, head over to the link in the video description. That's going to take you to Amazon, where we are doing a live stream simulcasted to Amazon, and you can find it right there. And there's two different versions of it. Matthew wants to know, does it work with the OG Wavebirds? And that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I have a Wavebird somewhere in the house, but I don't have it handy. So that might be something we have to look up here. So Brook Wavebird dock. Let's see. I want to say no, but I think, let's see, Power Bay, Brook Gaming. Let's see what they say here. Their website security is not up to par here. Oh, they have a firmware. Okay, modifying the default mode of the controller. Oh, so this looks like it supports vibration modes now also. I don't see any mention of Wavebird on their site. You might want to take a look at some of the reviews that are out there for it. Because I'm looking here, it looks like just the wired controllers. I'm just looking through some of the stuff that they've put on there. Yeah, it does have HDMI output. Now they're saying that that you could plug in just about any USB-C power supply because it forces the right voltage, but I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't risk it. So there is a picture here of somebody using the Wavebird, and it appears to be working. So that does seem to be something that it does do. And they're saying also that if you happen to have your Nintendo Switch bricked by it, they will give you a refund. But your mileage may vary on that one, so just be advised. All right, so let's go and pull in. I'm just going to pull in the video here from my laptop, and I'm going to take a look at the. Yeah, so it does work with the Wavebird. And then the risk of bricking, again, it's, they say there's no risk. They say that they're forcing the USB-C power supply to deliver the right power. It doesn't come with the power supply, which is why when I plug this in a second, I'm going to use my Nintendo one just to be safe. But yeah, it does support Wavebird. So that's cool. And I'll make a note of that. And here's the back of it in case you're wondering. So your power supply goes in here. HDMI output is there. And we will be taking a look at that in a second on my TV screen, or my monitor screen. But what I wanted to do first was pull in the video that we just shot, the slow-mo video, so that we can count the frames and see exactly how it works. So let me export this unmodified video real quick. Just going to throw it in my downloads folder. And we're going to go and count the frames and see exactly what the lag is on this thing. All right, so let me get this set up. And then I'm going to pull up my chart that I have, because I have a chart that has all of my testing of prior game controllers. And again, my method here is very unscientific, but I have enough data to know what's good and what isn't good. I just don't have a lot of resolution on my testing, basically. But the bottom line is typically on the switch, so like the Pro controller should get us about 68 milliseconds or so. Yeah, 64 milliseconds is about what I typically get with the Pro controller. And so I've got this spreadsheet here, and I'll pull this out so you can all see it. And this is my spreadsheet that I use. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go and count the frames on this video. And we just got to get it to the right spot here. I'm just going to go like 1 or 2 in here. Okay, so let's go here. And then we're going to wait for the finger to push down on the button. Okay, so you see it, how it's pushing there? So we don't know exactly where these things actuate. So that's why I said this is like not always the most scientific thing. But if I calculate it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so it shows up at around 12 frames, which actually is pretty good. Let's play this out a little bit here. So this is a Gamecube controller on the Brook dock, and we're going to say that this is 12. Oops. And if we run that out, it's about 48 milliseconds, which is very good. So let's just make sure that that was not an anomaly. I think that was really good. In fact, the lag on this is a little better than it would be on a wireless Pro controller. All right, so let's do it again. And I use the switch screen versus my display, so you have some consistency, you know, almost a control here from something. But let's take a look. Okay, so here's right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, it's pretty good. That's surprising. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So it's really good from a latency standpoint. And again, this is unscientific, as T-Bone says. But you know what? Here's the thing, is that when you do this enough, you can kind of flesh out the differences, right? So if we go in and look at, so here's an example. We had that Mayflash USB receiver with an Xbox One controller on my LG OLED. You know what I mean? Like you could see what's good and bad. So it's not to say that this is the de facto result, but the reality here is that it's testing better than it does with my Pro controller on wireless. So I think that's kind of what I think makes this interesting. So there you go. Okay, so now we have that done. That is good. That's really good, actually. So now what we'll do is we're going to, and I got to start my little Google Doc here. So this is turning into something better than I expected, which is good. I mean, it's well built. It looks like a little GameCube. It's got nice rubber feet on the bottom of it. You know, I'm pretty impressed with this thing so far. We have more to test, though. We got to test out how it works with a display. So let me just make a note here on the latency. Now, I'm using an official Nintendo GameCube controller here, and it's hardwired in. But this was like one of the Nintendo reissues. I think they came up with these when Super Smash Brothers was released for the Wii or the Wii U. Look how long the cable is on this thing. This is like crazy long. This is the official controller. It goes on forever. Look at this. Isn't that crazy? So I am quite impressed with that. All right. Let's get the monitor hooked up now. Yeah, so a lot of discussion about the Wavebirds. Yeah, it does. I'll have to see if I can dig out my Wavebird. I saw it. So what happened was when this is a very long story, but when my second daughter was born, I got kicked out of my office to make room for bedrooms for the oldest child. We had to move the oldest child to a new bedroom, which was my office. And so I thought I had more time than I did. And so my wife ended up just putting all my stuff in bins. So they're all in the basement here. And in fairness to her, I wasn't using these things, which is why they all ended up in bins. But every once in a while, you got to get the Wavebird out of storage. So yeah, so we're going to attach this up here and see how it all works. Now again, I am using the official GameCube power supply, and or the official Nintendo Switch power supply. And the reason is I don't mess around with this stuff because I just don't want a problem. You know what I mean? I just want to know that I'm not going to brick my Switch. And they have a warranty statement that says you're not going to brick it. But you know what? Spend an extra $10 and get the official Nintendo power supply, and you won't have any problems. So that's it. All right, so let's grab HDMI cable here, and we'll just connect it up to the back. The camera will position a little better here. And we'll pop this in the back here. And then we will wire it into the display. Okay. So I am surprised by the latency score on this thing. That's really good. Okay. So now we'll turn the monitor on. And let's get down a little bit here. This is just a basic 1080p monitor, nothing fancy. And we'll pop it in. And lots of good comments here on the ports. A few people mentioned E.C. Myers here, in addition to Dylam, who both mentioned that they have the controller ports here are sideways, so that you can accommodate the Wavebird thing. So I will go and find my Wavebird thing. I think I saw it recently, which is why I think I know where it might be. So we'll take a look at that. Yep, so Matthew, it looks like it shall work with your Wavebird. All right, so what do you play on a GameCube controller? Well, what do most people play, unlike me, who's like the old, whatchamacallit here. So we're going to go over to Super Smash Brothers. It's funny, I bought Super Smash Brothers because we were having family over for the holidays before all this pandemic stuff happened. And I thought we would have some epic battles, but nobody was into it. So it just kind of sat on there. And I'm just going to start. I guess there's an update, but we'll do the update later. Okay, so we'll put that in here. So I just want to see how it works as a dock. And then I got to test out the Bluetooth audio and see how that works. And we'll go from there. Thomas Yamfang says, which Nintendo properties couldn't you get into? Yeah, Pokemon I never got into. I was a little older for that because I think, that was like a Game Boy thing that it was all consuming. What's funny is that as a fighting game, this should be the type of fighting game that engages me, right? Because it's not that complicated. But I just never got into Super Smash Brothers. Okay, we're just going to do a quick single-player game here. Blah, 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 blah. There's so much junk here that they're trying to push on me. I haven't booted this game up in forever, so you see all these notifications that I'm getting? Obviously, this is a continuing revenue source. All right, so we're just going to do a quick smash here. So I just want to see how the dock performs when we put it into. All right. And we'll just do some random stuff here. All right. I always like to be Mario for some reason, just because he's like the default Nintendo character, right? Okay, so the monitor's ready to go here. We got the controller hooked up. All right, so I'm going to pause the game real quick. Can I pause the game? Oh, it's not working. Hang on. So, oh, you know why? Because I have it on this mode. All right, let me pause it here. All right, so let's pause the game, because I had the game cons connected here. Okay, so we're going to pause it, and we're going to pop this in here. And there we go. Okay, so now, okay, look, yeah, it's working. And I think it sees it as like a Pro controller. What's going on here? Okay, so start. There we go. Resume. Yeah, it's working. And now here's the thing. I don't know what buttons should be mapped where. So I'm assuming for my Smash players out there, obviously the big A button here is the attack button. This button's jumping. And this is doing like the special whatever attack, right? So I'm assuming everything is working as it's supposed to. I don't know where the buttons are supposed to be mapped on this. I don't know if we can. So this is like the home button. So I don't know what creates a start button push. Because that takes you back to the home menu. I got to go look at their screen here and see. And I don't have the audio connected either, by the way, which is why you don't hear anything. But it seems to be working. Like if I pop it out of the dock, like so, you know, it's doing exactly what we would expect it to do, right? I'll put it back in here. And I want to see if it's charging. So let's see if it's charging. Yep, it's charging the battery. And I think we're good. Let's see. All right, so now it's having some trouble finding the controller again. Oh, I see. I can just point it there. Okay, there we go. So I wonder if it knows that I have a GameCube controller attached. Whoa! Okay, so now I need to check the controller mapping. There was something on their Amazon listing with the controller mapping. So let me look for that real quick here and see how that works. But yeah, so far so good here on that. And there was like a photo. Here it is. Okay, so let me show you this. Let me just give a good look here. All right, so D-pad maps where you think it would go. Oh, I see. So there's a GameCube mode for Smash Brothers. I see. Okay, so that's probably what you have to enable, unless it detects it automatically. Left key down, left key. I don't even know what half of this stuff means. So how do you? Oh, I see. So you have to do button combinations here. So if I want to hit a start button, what would that be? It's home, capture. Because right there's a plus button. Oh, I see. No function. Oh, interesting. So you can't hit. This is the one thing with this. You can't hit the plus or the minus. There's no function on this controller to map to that. So that's the one issue that you might run into for compatibility. But apparently this has a GameCube mode. So how do we get? So we can't even get to that, right? Because if I hit start here, it goes back out. So you almost need like another controller to set up GameCube mode, unless. I'm just trying to see if there's a combination of buttons I can push to get it into that mode. Because you see how it's just jumping back right out? And I think it sees it. Let's see. Controllers. Yeah, so it just sees this as like a USB Pro controller. So let's go back and take a look at that testing thing here and see what it sees every button as. And I'm missing some questions here. Sorry about that. Okay, so B, A, X, Y. So these are exactly what you would think they would be. So they're mapped the way you would think. Here's your D-pad. The sticks never show up. Z doesn't do anything. And I'm guessing if you hit Z with something else is probably what you'll get. That was weird. So if I push this, oh, interesting. So if I push this all the way down, I get an R, but it first does a different R, a right stick push, right? Because you don't have the ability to push down the sticks on the GameCube controller. That's what that is. Interesting. Okay. So that's what that's all about. Okay, so there's going to be some compatibility issues with games that don't support all the buttons on here. So the question now is, like, how do we get the, oh, you know what? It looks like, actually, let me back out of here. How do I get out of here? Hold on, any button to end the test. Yes, we need to put it into that mode somehow, right? And I think it has that mode, but you can't hit the start button to do it. So let's see if we can get through this match here, and then maybe I can get out to a different level. Or I could, you know what I'm going to do? Let's do this. Let's speed this up a bit. So I'm going to go back into here. Yes, it kind of detected that we had something different attached because it let me navigate. All right, let's quit here. All right, we'll see what we get here. Joshua's Tally was wanting to know, how fast do the games download on my 2 gig connection with this? So I do have Ethernet on this upstairs. And you don't often get a good idea as to what the throughput is on it. But here's what I found, like both with the Xbox and Steam and all the other stuff that I download with, is that typically most of these services can't like deliver me data at 2 gigabits. It's really kind of funny. It almost reminds me of the days when I was on my DSL connection, and like not everybody could support the full megabit download speeds that I had. So it's kind of similar to that. All right, so controls. I'm just trying to see. All right, so there is a GameCube icon. Oh, I see. Ah, so there's like a whole setup here for the GameCube controller. That's what that's about. So otherwise, it's like basic mappings. Although, if we go back to that screen, I'm just talking out loud here because I like to try to figure out how things work. There was a firmware update for this I got to figure out how to implement. So let's go back to that screen I showed you a second ago. So, right, so this will map appropriately because they have a button mapping specifically in Smash Brothers for this. So short of that, you're not going to have a plus or a minus button if you're using this controller on a game. And then, and right, because you've got two on the actual Nintendo Switch controls, whether it's a Pro controller or not, you have triggers and shoulders, right? So you have, and unfortunately they don't give you, oh, I see. So what you got to do, if you wanted to do a ZL, which is, so ZL and ZR are the triggers down here. So let's go back to the, and I'm sorry to like sound so like confused here. I'm just trying to get this button mapping figured out. So if we go back to our system test here, we test our input devices. So if you, and we're going to have to test this also with Mario Sunshine because that's the one that supports, that was from the GameCube era. I've got that upstairs. I'll go grab it in a second. So if we hold down, so we push this button here, you can see we get left and R, right? And if I hold down this button, I get a ZL. So that's L, that's ZL. You push it all the way down, you get the stick. So it's not going to be ideal, I think, for things that are, I'm sorry, my Siri just went off on this. Stop. It's not going to be ideal for games that really don't support the controller or require you to use the other trigger buttons. That's going to be, I could see that being an issue. Thomas Yamfang says the 3D All-Stars version of Super Mario Sunshine was just updated to support GameCube controllers, including the Wavebird. Awesome. So that might be worth taking a look at. And then somebody suggested settings button mapping. I don't think there is a button mapping feature on the Switch, is there? I mean, unless the game supports it. Oh, change button mapping. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, but look what it says. I cannot remap this controller. Oops. I can only remap the right Joy-Con for some reason. That's weird. I have an aftermarket Joy-Con on here, so that's probably why. So why does it say I can't remap? You can customize button mapping for each controller. Huh. Yeah, it doesn't support it. Cannot remap. And this one I could see because this is not an official Nintendo controller. So that's what that's about. Yeah, so the analog triggers do appear to work. And then when you push it all the way down, though, it simulates a stick click. So that's what that does. All right, talk amongst yourselves for a second. I'm going to go grab the 3D All-Stars game, and we'll pop that in real quick and see what happens with that. I'm going to pick up a water on my way, too. I'm a little thirsty. And we'll go grab that game. Yeah, so I think the GameCube functionality is going to be somewhat limited. It's not going to be full-featured. But if you like the GameCube controller, it's going to work provided the game that you're playing has that support. But it's a nice little dock, and you know what I like about it is that it's pretty portable. So if you wanted to take it with you someplace, even if you don't use it for the GameCube controller ports, you have that as an option. Okay, so let's pop this out. And I may have to run an update on, yeah, so I have 3D All-Stars here. So we'll pop that in, and we'll go back to the home screen. And I think there is an update for this, right? So, oops. I think it checks for an update before you go in, right? Unless I updated it before. I try to buy my games physically just because they have more value because you can sell them when you're done playing with them. And Limited Run Games has been doing a bunch of these things too. So let's see what happens with Mario Sunshine. And I may have to update it. Yeah, I got to go find my Wavebird. I probably would want to demo that, wouldn't I? Oops. I'm so used to hitting that start button. Ah. Press A. Okay. So maybe I did do the update. Surprised I haven't played this game yet. I've played this so many times over the years that I completely forgot that I hadn't started it on this copy yet. I've been trying to get through Mario 64. All right, let's see what happens. But this controller, like I said, I bought it probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. I have to check and see. I think I bought it from Amazon when it came out. We have to wait for this, this thing to play out here. So we'll get through all that in a second here. All right, so I should probably note button mapping. So we want to verify Super Smash Brothers and Mario Sunshine. You know, I'm guessing there's got to be other games that support it. But they never offered you any way to get through this screen here. So we have to kind of just wait it out. Okay, I already started here. Okay, so there we go. Guys, this looks really good graphically. Oh boy. So I hit the, I guess that's what that button does. Okay. I thought one of these buttons was like the one you push to have him like stomp down. So maybe the button mapping is off on this. So that's adjusting the camera angle. All right, let's see if we can figure this out. Because he's jumping with B and with A. So I think we haven't gotten the update down here. So let's go in and see. And pop it off the dock here. But you can see how I'm struggling with the mappings, right? And I think if you hit this, software update, let's see. Oh, I'm on the latest version. Okay. All right, so let's go back in. All right, so we're going to save that. And I'll see if there's an option to maybe change the controls. So I'm up to date. Okay, so here it's saying press A, but I can also hit Start, Options. Rumble on, subtitles on. Just want to see if we plug this in, what happens. Oh. Press ZR on the controller. I think we may have stumped it. There we go. Okay, so press A when you're ready. So the question is, does it see it as a GameCube controller? I'm going to have to research exactly how this is supposed to work. At least it'll let us get through the cutscene there. So I thought he was able to, let me get that, I think he gets that pack very early on, right? These guys give it to him. So let's see, RD Delacroix is wondering, do I have any recommendations for a good N64 controller for the PC? I really don't. I would love to get some thoughts on that, because I've been just using, you know, my 8-bit DOS stuff, but they're really, you know, those are not, they don't have the same feel that the Nintendo 64 controller had. Believe it or not, my N64 controller still works, and I think I haven't played with it on the PC in a while, but I have been able to connect it. If you press the R button, you can stop and shoot. Okay. And you can use the left stick to aim in any direction. Okay. Press the X button to switch to the hover nozzle, which is here. Okay. So maybe he can't do a butt stomp. I thought he could in this game. Okay, so let's go here. Yeah, I got to do some more research on this one. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting into the gist of what this thing can do. And I got to remember how to play this game again. I haven't played it in a while. It does look good, though. I have to say, they did a nice job kind of subtly upscaling everything. I remember this got getting a lot of negative reviews back when it first came out. I always thought it was kind of creative. I kind of enjoyed a little variation on the theme. I really liked 3D World that was on the Wii U. I thought that was a fun game. All right, so now that monster is there. We got to get some more water here. Yeah, the controls just aren't quite right. But they did allude to a firmware upgrade on their website, so I'm going to check that out in a little bit. And we'll have a look at that. Let's hit the minus button on the Joy-Con for controller mappings. Okay, so let's get our shine here. I love the music in this game too. It was really a lot of fun. Okay. So let's save and continue. And I think I'm hampered by the fact that I don't have my Pro controller down here. I wonder if I connected that one up. We might be able to have better luck with it. We'll take a look at it in a minute. Okay. Yeah, it's funny with the up-resing here. You know, they tried to make the movies a little more clean, right? But you could definitely tell. David's Devices is here on Amazon. Welcome. Yeah, but so far it's pretty good. I like it. You know, like I said, I think what I like most about it, irrespective of the switch functionality, is that it's pretty compact. So, and it doesn't feel cheap. You know, it feels like a pretty nice little dock. And I'm using the, it doesn't come with a power adapter, so I'm using the official Nintendo adapter with this one. And Clinton Bowman Christie says, it appears the Brock dock has limited functionality. Yeah, I don't know the extent of it yet. We were able to get things to work with Smash Brothers, but I don't know if this shows up, like if it knows that it has a GameCube controller attached, or if it's just, you know, passing through a USB. You know, like this is interfacing with a USB game controller interface. I will say that the latency on it is very minimal. I was very surprised by the fact that, because typically with these third-party docks, like the USB circuitry and the chips they're using, the controllers, they're never all that great. But this has really been performing better, you know, like from a latency standpoint, was much better than I expected. So that kind of surprised me. All right, so let's see what we get here. Yeah, we got to get through all the stuff. You can see I just started the game. So yeah, the big thing that I see with this is that there's no way to hit the plus or minus buttons. Like there's just there's no mapping. So it says it on their screen here. It's like there's just no function for plus or minus. So you can't hit that on this controller unless you've got another one attached. So I may have an 8-bit DOE controller around here we can connect up. All right. That's right, they put him on trial, and he's got to clean up. He had nothing to do with it. He's innocent. So CVL says that Brock stuff is usually top quality. Many in the fighting game community use their converters for other systems. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I had not heard of them before, and you know, like I said, I've had this for a while, and it was initially going to be released on Amazon as a regular product, but they decided to crowdfund it first, and that's when I said, yeah, you know, get back, you know, I'll review it when it's a product. All right, so let's see. So the minus button doesn't work right now because obviously these are connected. This is not one of those wireless Joy-Cons. So let me pop this out and see what happens when I have the minus button pushed here. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this. I'm going to attach this in that menu. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so it doesn't appear to detect this. Because you can't get into this menu using this controller at all because of the button mapping problem. So let's look up GameCube controller. And of course, there's a million articles about this. So now you can play Super Mario with da-da-da-da. Okay, so so it says here that GameCube controller support, this is a Polygon article, is limited to playing Super Mario Sunshine in TV mode, okay, which we have. They don't give you a lot of detail here. Each game has its own settings, Super Mario. Let me see if I can figure out how to enable it. Yes, it doesn't seem to be recognizing this, so I have to do some more digging into it to see exactly what it is. It seems like that this functionality to detect that controller is limited, maybe, or perhaps we need to do a firmware upgrade on this. So let me go back to their website because they do allude to a firmware update. So maybe we need to do that. Firmware update, major update. The firmware has been updated to, okay, so in October, which was after I got it. So let me download the firmware and see how this might work. So this is the Power Bay. And let me download this real quick. And my Mac is not digging it because it keeps throwing it out. Let's see. All right, they're not like a certified Mac developer. Needs to be updated. All right, let me just do this override here. Bear with me, folks. We're just trying to figure this out. All right, so we're going to go over to our security setting here and override that for this app only. Okay, so firmware update. Download update from FTP. Oh, geez, it's like downloading. Okay, so now it wants me to plug in to the computer. So I've got to find a cable to do that. So hang on, everybody. All right, so we're going to unplug the switch here. And we're going to do the firmware update. So all right, so I just plugged it in, and it's not detecting anything. And it could be that this USB thing is not cooperating either. Oh, I got one of these things. Let's try this one. All right, give me a second here, folks. We're just going to try this out. Let's see if we can get this to work. So what we're doing right now, everybody, is we are updating or attempting to update the firmware on this Gamecube dock here to see if it might. So what this does, it lets you plug in a Switch Gamecube controller. Okay, I plugged it in. Oh, I got to plug it into the top part there. How the heck am I going to do that? Hang on a second. So it wants me to plug into the top connector with what? It's a, it's a, not a host, it's not a receiver, it's a, so where do you get the cable? So push the button. They didn't give you a cable like that in the box. Let me go back and look at the manual here. Okay, so it looks like this does actually solve the problem we're having. The problem is, I don't know how you connect this to your computer unless they give you a cable to do it, which is not in the box. So let me go back to, there's a little manual here that they've got. So, oops, network error on the manual. Yeah, I mean, you need, like, this is the problem, is that they want you to connect to here, but you'd need, like, a special cable to do that. I don't know how you'd even get that to work. Because, it's a male connector. So let's see, let me try this again. Go back to the software. So it wants you to connect, unless it's just mislabeled. Let me plug this in and hold down the button, because it looks like that may have been what I was not doing correctly before. So I'm going to hold down the button. And I hope this is not like watching paint dry for all of you, but this is my process when we're reviewing things. We like to see how stuff works. Okay, so I'm holding down the button now. And it could be, too, I've got my Silicon Mac here, so let me download the Windows version and see if that might work better. Yeah, so exactly, like it just doesn't make sense that it would require that. So let me grab my little Windows computer, wherever I put it, and we'll try this out real quick and see if it's able to work with it. Because it seems like this firmware will trigger the Gamecube mode, which I think is what needs to happen here. So let's grab the computer. Yeah, I'm guessing a USB-C extension cord. I don't have one. I don't have a USB-C extension cord. I'm trying to think, do I have a USB-C? No, I've got a USB-A extension cord, but not a USB-C extension cord. It certainly didn't come with one. So I'm not sure how you would get that to work. So let's try this again here. Let me go back to the website. And this is the Brook Gamecube dock. Let's see if we can find what we're looking for here. Oh, we're not getting on the network. Hang on, everybody. I have one of those days, nothing's working right. Okay, there we go. So now we're back here. So we'll go to Power Bay. Oh, still not connected. It was connected for a second, and then it stopped getting connected. My Wi-Fi. I got that new Wi-Fi access point. I wonder if it, there it goes. Okay. Now we're connected. And they're having a problem with their security certificate today also. All right. Firmware update. It's a major update, they said. So I'm just thinking maybe the Mac software was kind of the problem, right? So let's download the PC software. There's a link for the manual here, but that wasn't downloading. Oh, now it is. Okay. PowerBay firmware. There we go. When all else fails, read the instructions, as they say. So let me go and look at the instructions here real quick. Firmware update guide. It's so weird. I almost wonder if they're just mislabeling this, because like how would you connect this to a male connector? All right, so let's try this again with the firmware file that we've got, and I'm going to connect it to the back. Well, that's probably only a power connector, right? So, like, how do they expect people to connect this thing? Hold down the button on the power bay and then connect it to the computer. Like, it doesn't say you need this cable. It just says plug it in. Unless this comes out in some way. I doubt it, though. Like, does the connector pop out? Is it like a little... I don't think so. It moves around a little bit, but it's not... It's a male connector. So I guess I would need like an extension cable for that to work. Because this is strictly a power input there. And obviously this doesn't, right? That doesn't work. I have to reach out to them and ask them how the heck to do that. So let me see. Unless I'm missing something really obvious. So I have a USB-C. The problem is I have a USB-C to USB-A cable. That's not the problem. The problem is that this is a male connector. So every one of your USB-C cables that you have are all male connectors. And I can't just like, I mean, I guess I could try to coax this thing into plugging into the side of the computer somehow. Maybe that would work. Actually, that actually might work. If I can line it up right. This thing's thin enough. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reach out to them and see how the heck do you do this without that cable. It doesn't say like you need this cable. It just like assumes that you know how to hook up a male connector to this thing. Because I just don't have one of those. The little adapter thing at the end of the cable. There's no adapter. There is no adapter. I've got nothing. Because again, this is a male connector. You need a female connector to connect it out. Because remember, the bottom of the switch that this is normally connecting to is female. So I would need a female connector to connect that up. Yeah, so I'd have to get a female USB-C to male USB-A or female to whatever. So I just don't have one. I can check let me check in my pile of goodies and see if I've got something kicking around. See, I've got a bunch of these like out of spec little USB adapters, but they're all male. And I'm guessing that like the yeah, let me do a better search here. So let's do a search. Let me go to Google. Oops. So let's do PowerBay Brook firmware cable. I'm sure somebody must be talking about this. If not, I'll just buy the cable and that'll just delay the review for a couple days. This is the kind of stuff that comes into these things here. Somebody suggested to check the box. Not a bad idea. but nothing. Nada, nada, nada. They do have a link to the firmware here, but it looks like I'll probably have to get a cable unless I can coax it. Let's check the manual real quick. So they sent me this, like, this was out before their Kickstarter campaign, so it's possible that they might have included that cable or an adapter or something in the box. And really the only way I can make this work would be to kind of coax it into the laptop's port. But that is going to be hard to do. It moves a little bit, but not in the direction I need it to. And I guess is that they've rectified this on all the shipping units, so I'm kind of stuck just because I have an earlier one. Yeah, it's not going in. So let's see what the manual here talks about. Okay, firmware update. There's a whole thing on firmware updates, page 6. Okay, update PC. Press long turbo and connect to a PC with a USB cable to switch into firmware mode. Yeah, so it doesn't help me. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try this again with the Windows PC, because it could have been just that the Mac was not behaving. Because again, we're not connecting male connector to male connector here. It's just not going to work. Now this is a power connector, but who knows? Let's see if maybe I hold the button down and we have the Windows version here. It might do better. So let me go and run this real quick. More info. Let's run anyway. Okay, so wait a moment. It's downloading the firmware. So it's grabbing this from their website. Now I'm going to hold down the button they told me to hold down. Otherwise, we're going to have to get a new cable, which I do not have at the moment. Okay, we'll plug that in. Yeah, so it's just getting power. It's not actually... You would think, like, in the instructions, you would say, hey, you might need a cable. So Pablo says you're missing it at the end of the cable. There's nothing at the end of the cable. This is a male connector. It doesn't connect. Unless you got to pull something out. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working here. Like, I don't see what's at the end of the cable here that's going to work. I had another cable, right. I mean, the cable I was using was not from this. It was just an adapter cable. Hang on, let me find that again, see if I'm totally off here on this. Where did it go? I threw it aside in frustration, and I don't know where I put it. Yeah, but whatever adapter that cable had was not going to work either, unless this doesn't pop off. So yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do this. I'm just trying to see if I've got something else laying around here that would work, but I don't think I do. Yeah, so that USB cable I was using before was from a different product. So what you need is a female USB connector, because I have nothing like that. So I don't really have any extension cables. Carlos says the other end. Yeah, but both ends of a USB-C cable, there's no female end to a USB-C cable. They're always both male ends on the cable. So that's why we're not able to get this to work. Unless I'm totally missing something. I'm just trying to see. I'll go look in my pile of junk over there and see if I've got something that might work. But yeah, I just have male connectors here. Yeah, that cable we were looking at before came from a hard drive. It did have an adapter on it, but that adapter was to connect it up to... Yeah, there's no way without a female connector, because again, every connector is on USB-C is just male. So let me go check this is like a last resort check. If not, we're going to have to buy a cable to do a firmware update. But you would think they would just say, like, you need this. So let me go through here and see if I've got any kind of extension cable for USB Type-C, which I likely do not have. I have a USB-A extender. So let's think about this now. See, you still need that female connector. Yeah, I got nothing. So let's think this through for a second. We can go super out of spec here. I think I see where he was going with this a minute ago. This is very dangerous to do, because typically these things only go in one direction, and I could risk really blowing something out here. But I see what he was going with this. We can plug in this adapter here, and that'll get us female USB to USB-A. I can plug in this extension cable, and so let's see if this does it. I see where, now I understand what he was saying, like flip that adapter around. That's probably what he was talking about on the chat. So let's try that now. So we got the firmware update open here. And let's see what happens. I gotta hold down the button. Yeah, please plug in the converter. Okay. Let's try this again. All right, so I'm gonna hold the button down, I'm gonna plug this in. Okay, I plugged it in. Yeah, it's not seeing it. It's lighting up, so it's getting power through this, which is probably not good. All right, so let's flip this around here and see if it works this way. This is not something you want to try at home, everybody. All right, plug the adapter. I did plug the converter. Please plug the converter. Yeah, it does not seem to be working. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is not going to end well. All right, let me close this out and open it up again. All right, we're going to try this one more time. So Power Bay Online. Okay, so we're plugged in. I'm going to hold this down. Oh, it's downloading the firmware. So let's let it download the firmware. I guess it must download it to a temporary file. And then we're going to plug this in to here. I mean, the net result here is I'm probably going to blow out my USB port on this computer. All right, the light went off. If that's good or bad, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working. I think I'm going to email the guy and ask him, like, how do we get the firmware updated on this thing? Because that's really what's going to take to get it to work. The good news is, like, I don't know if this is a if the product you buy is going to have this this happen there as far as it working or not. But what I am going to do though is make sure that USB port still works. Let me just plug this hard drive in. Make sure we're still okay. Hopefully I didn't kill my USB port. I'm not smelling any smoke or anything, so I think we're okay. Uh-oh. Yeah, this was probably not a good idea. Oh, it's okay. We're good. USB port still works. And I'll just copy some files to it just to make sure that that works. Okay, good. No problem. Yeah, we're going to leave it there. And I'm going to write to this guy and say, how the heck do you update the firmware? Because people might end up with, people might end up with a, one of these things and not be able to, an older version and not be able to update it. So I'm guessing that the newer ones have the firmware built in. But you would think there'd be an easier way to get the firmware updated. I mean, the only other thing I can think of would be to plug it directly in. So let's see if we can get it into my, we're going to really mess things up now. Let's see if we can if I can plug this into my Mac here somehow. Let's see if we can get it in there. so it goes in that direction. Let's see. Yeah, it's not going to go in easily. Can I get it in that port? Let's see. It might get in there. Let's see. Oh, it's in. Okay, you know what? This might do it. I got it in the Mac. All right, let's see what happens. It's plugged in. It actually recognized something. All right, plug in the converter. All right, let me try this again. It does go in. So let's see what happens. And the Mac picked it up as a keyboard. Again, I suggest not trying this at home if you're watching this. And if you're just tuning in, we are trying to get a firmware update onto this thing, because apparently the only way to do the firmware update is to plug it in. Okay, I plugged it in. There we go. Press button to start update. It's going. Hey, look. Firmware is updated. How about that? MacBook Air for the win. Okay. So there you go. That's your solution. You plug it into the side of your Mac. Boy, that wasn't too hard. Okay, let's reconnect this thing. So yeah, you need a USB-C extension cable, if one even exists, to be able to do that. All right, so now we've got the firmware installed. So let's see what happens after we boot this thing back up here. So we're reconnected. We're going to plug that controller back in. Oh, look at that. It's not bringing me to the home screen anymore. So that's different. So that's actually an improvement there. So let's go to options and let's see. Okay, so that didn't do what we thought it would do. Well, you know what? Let's go. Well, it's funny because now the start button is not working as a home button. Okay, so we can use these. All right, so let's go over to, oops. All right, we'll go into the settings and go dig a little deeper here. See, this is why I do, like, when you think about like what it takes to do a product review, right? Do we have the most updated? All right, so let's go and look at the buttons now. Test controller buttons. So this is still mapped to plus, but it looks like, oh, so things are different now. So before it was detecting these buttons. Interesting. Yeah, so the mapping changed here after the firmware update. So plus is mapped here. We don't have that weird thing now, but you know what? The analog sticks here are not working, although that's not something the Switch typically has. So I guess the question is whether or not, yeah, D-pad works. ZR is now here. All right, so let's go back home. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this and then reopen it, if it lets me. All right, so let's close Mario All-Stars and like reopen it and just to see what happens. Okay, so we're going to go close software. I guess I could have did that on this GameCube thing. Okay, so now let's put it back in. And figure it out. Okay. Yeah, that was a crazy firmware update. My guess is that you're not going to update the firmware on this again, unless, but you know what? Who knows? I mean, maybe Nintendo does something crazy and then it stops working again. All right, let's see if the controller gets detected here. There it goes. Okay, oops. All right, so let's jump into this, and let's see what happens. But the mapping's definitely changed quite a bit. The monitor, yeah, this is a Lenovo monitor. It's 75 hertz. It's actually a good little monitor. I think it supports FreeSync also. And I don't know if they still make it. I got this years ago through the Amazon Vine program to review. And I like it because it's very lightweight, and I can just easily take it on and off the desk. So I use this one a lot. And it looks good. It's a decent display. All right. Well, I got Rumble now, too. The controller rumbled. So that's cool. All right, let's see how this is working now. Yeah, this is working much better. So, okay, so, yep, so the analog controls here are working. So if I just push this in slightly, it does one thing. And then if I push it in harder, it goes to that. Yeah, see that? Okay, so look, I'm moving around, right? Moving around. Now if I push it all the way down until it clicks, now it's doing that turret thing that it does. And then I can hit the X here. Yeah, that seems to work. So it looks like that works for whatever it's supposed to do. I just can't validate that it's picked it up as a legit Gamecube controller. But I think it's doing what it's supposed to do. It definitely feels it feels better than it did before. Oops. So if we go back here, oops, sorry, wrong button. Yeah, this is all working now the way it's supposed to work. Because I didn't remember the left trigger here kind of triggering a thing. So that's definitely better than it was. So yeah, it does work. All right, so then we hit this to switch back. Yeah. Yeah, it's working just like I remembered it working now. Yep, so that firmware definitely fixed it. And I would guess if you were to buy this now, it would certainly work fine. But the problem is you don't know what firmware you're going to get, right? I mean, I guess they said after October. So I'm assuming I bet you, I'm trying to remember what the timeline on this was. I would bet you that the ones in Amazon now are probably on the right firmware. Yeah, see, now everything's working the way it's supposed to. Much better. Okay, so that's good. And this is showing up with the little X button. So now if I disconnect, it looks the same. Because there's still no, okay, so let's try this again and see what happens. So now we've got the control menu up. If I pop that in, yeah, so it's still showing the other controller. I just don't know if I mean, it's definitely playing the way it's supposed to. I just wonder, though, if there's going to be like a whole nother set of firmware that you have to update at some point in the future. So that's the big question there. All right. So how do you play Mario Sunshine with digital triggers? So you all tell me. I'm trying to remember how this plays. Because this is an analog trigger now. And I forgot, like, was there a rate of, like, what did it do with the analog triggers? I can't remember now. It doesn't seem to be adjusting the flow of water based on the depth of the trigger push. Let's go fill up his thing here. And this is the kind of stuff I got to get answers to before I do this review, because I think the audience for this is going to be very specific for the kinds of but it's definitely rumbling now, which it didn't do before. Okay. Yeah, so when you yeah, so when I click all the way down, it's got me in place. And then if what happened? What did I do there? Okay, so if I click all the way down, so I'm in place. And then if I just push it lightly, I can move and shoot. So it's definitely got that mechanic. Although I don't know if that's an analog function so much as it is like, because there's an actual actuation where you're clicking forward. Yeah, okay, so let me ask my experts out there. So the fact that I was able to push the button down and stop means that what? That it's working as it's supposed to work, right? Because I'm pushing all the way down here. And then, so if I'm walking, push down, I stop, I can do the turret feature. And then if I just push down lightly, I can keep walking around. So that tells me, and it's been a while since I played this game on the GameCube, but I think that's how it's supposed to play. Am I correct? Okay, it seems like I am. Perfect. All right. So the firmware update is the critical feature here. I'm going to grab the B-roll from the live stream. Oh, you know, female-male extension cable. It was just dumb luck that the Mac actually could fit, right? So that was funny. Okay. But I think so. What are the games that would support it? I guess just this one and Smash Brothers, right? That's it, right? I don't think there's anything else that would support that. Interesting. All right, we'll have to figure it out. Okay, so I think I'm good for now. I've got to edit a video for tomorrow, or for tonight or tomorrow. I got to figure out when I'm going to post that one. So that's my next thing on the agenda, which I got to do in a little bit. Gail Lewis is writing in, an internet provider in West Hartford. Do I recall the name? Yes, it is Go NetSpeed. That's the one you're looking for. Good. Everyone I know that has it is very happy with it. Okay. Mark Dell says, do you have a game? I do have a Wii. What I don't have, I got to go and see if I can find it. I know I have a Wii. I don't think I have any GameCube games. No, I might have this on Game. I may still have the GameCube games. I need to check. Yeah, I think I sold the GameCube, but I kept all the games because I had replaced it with a Wii. So I could probably try it out and see. Now, what I have here is a legit, this is like a real Nintendo GameCube controller. This is when they reissued them. This is the part number on this is DOL003. So it's a late model because I think this came out during the Wii U generation. So we'll have to see what goes on there. AJ says, so this wouldn't work with Link's Awakening. I think that it'll work provided the buttons that you need to push are mappable. So the big issue here is that you don't get a plus or a minus, and then you also don't have the trigger, the left. I'm trying to see what things are labeled. So you have the shoulders here, but these don't work as triggers. That's my understanding. To get that functionality, you have to hold down this button and then push one of the other ones, and then it'll give you the second one on there. So that's kind of the trick with this. So yeah, it's not, you know, some games are not going to work right. You don't have any clickable sticks, which you do have on the Switch controller, so there's some of those things are not going to map properly. So I think if the game supports it, it'll work. But if it doesn't, you know what I mean, if it doesn't support those, doesn't need those buttons, it should work. So that should be worth looking at. Thomas Angfang here says Shovel Knight and Sonic. And which Sonic, Thomas? Because I have a bunch of them. I do have the, it's like Sonic, tell me which Sonic. I need to know. Rocket League and Minecraft. I think I have Rocket League on here, don't I? Let me take a look. Oops, wrong button. I think I have Rocket League. Let's take a look and see. I have a lot of games you know me, I just buy games I never play. They go on sale and then it's like you got to get them. I don't have Minecraft, but I do have Rocket League. Let me download the update here real quick. And this might be going slow because, yeah, because I'm on the wrong Wi-Fi. The one thing I found with the Switch is that it doesn't roam Wi-Fi access points very well. So I'm constantly, so right now it's like attached to the one in the bedroom on the other side of the house. And I am constantly having to like manually reconnect it because now I'm going to connect it to the access point that we put in the other day. That's down here. And that should speed things up. But it's a big update. All right, so I doubt it's going to take 45 minutes, but we'll have to see. Yeah, so I guess again, it's a matter of what games are compatible. But I will take a look and see what Switch games work with the GameCube controller ahead of the review. And there's a, oh, what do you know? There's a Reddit post for everything. Comprehensive list of Switch games with full GameCube controller support. All right, so there's, looks like there's a bunch of comments on here. Okay, so Sonic Mania, which I have. So what would the, Thomas may be able to answer this, what's the advantage of the GameCube controller for Sonic Mania beyond the normal mapping? I don't think there's any analog control there, right? So that might be something to look at. And this, of course, is going to take a while. Yeah, I may hook up Ethernet over here, too. I don't think this is a Wi-Fi issue. I think this is what I was saying before, is that the speed in which these things download varies dramatically based on the service providers. So, for example, I typically, even I have a 10 gig Ethernet connection to my gaming PC upstairs. And on that, Steam at the most will get to about half a gigabit. It won't even get to a full gig. Occasionally, it gets up a little bit to that speed level, but it generally doesn't. The Nintendo stuff is pretty slow. My Xbox Series X connected to gigabit Ethernet is usually pulling only about 600 megabits. So that is pretty much it. So, but I think, you know what, I've got enough to start with here. So I've got one other thing I got to test out a little bit later. I need to do a little bit more research on the GameCube controllers, but I mean, from the standpoint, I think the two games that you would buy something like this for would be Smash Brothers, which I can demonstrate. I just need to make sure I understand it a little bit better. And then, because that I'll get torn apart on, because, you know, like, the Smash community is going to want to know. So I need to look at that, and then I need to look at Mario Sunshine in the review. I think those two are the big ones that need to be looked at there. So I'm going to probably shoot this tomorrow or Monday. So, and then programming notes, we're going to have a review. Where did I put it? I'm surrounded by computers here. So we're going to have a review probably tonight if I get the editing done this afternoon. We're going to have this review ready for you tonight. Kind of a fun. This is a handheld Windows PC. And then Monday, we have an interview with Bob from Retro RGB. He interviewed me for his show, which just went up today, and my interview with him is a different discussion. It's great. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. So there you go. And we'll go from there. Mark Dell said he got an Astro Mini Arcade. I have not seen one of those. Let me see what that looks like. I have the Legends Ultimate upstairs. Well, that looks pretty cool. Oh yeah, that looks cool. It's like a little, like a Japanese arcade game thing. That's neat. I do not have one of those, but I'd be interested in checking it out. Very cool. All right. Well, everybody, I think I've accomplished what I set out to do today. And we'll figure it out. Scott Linux wants to know, is there a Lon Discord? Not at the moment. I should probably start one. I have the Facebook group. You know, I was trying all these different community things to see what would work. And I tried to do a subreddit, and that didn't really get anywhere. And then I did a couple of other things. I started up my own forum. That didn't do anything. The Facebook group seems to be working the best. But at some point, I might do a Discord. So, cool. All right, everybody. I'm going to head out for now, but I will be back in a little bit. So I might stream tomorrow. We'll see what's going on with the kids. And if not, we'll stream next week, probably Monday. All right? So thank you all for tuning in, and I will catch you all on the next one. And I appreciate the help, everybody. It was very helpful to have everybody give me some ideas as to how to fix all this stuff. All right. Yeah, enjoy the Retro RGB interview. It was kind of a freewheeling discussion. I thought it was kind of fun just to talk shop, kind of talk shop between two creators.